The year 48 BCE saw Julius Caesar's pursuit of Pompey's forces lead him across the Adriatic Sea to Greece, where the next major confrontation of the civil war would take place. The Battle of Dyrrachium was a critical moment in Caesar's campaign, one that nearly ended in disaster for him and his legions. Situated along the coast of the Adriatic, near modern-day Durrës in Albania, Dyrrachium was a key stronghold for Pompey and his supporters. It was here that Pompey, bolstered by fresh reinforcements and a strong defensive position, planned to confront Caesar on his own terms. Following his victories in Spain and Italy, Caesar was confident in his ability to bring the civil war to a swift conclusion. His goal was to corner Pompey and force a decisive battle that would break Pompey's army and leave him with no choice but to surrender. Pompey, however, was not easily intimidated. He had gathered a formidable force of nearly 50,000 men, including a large number of cavalry and auxiliary troops from the eastern provinces. In contrast, Caesar's legions, although battle-hardened and loyal, were significantly outnumbered, with around 30,000 men. As Caesar's forces crossed the Adriatic and landed in Greece, they found themselves facing logistical challenges. The terrain was difficult, the supply lines were stretched, and the weather was often unpredictable. Despite these difficulties, Caesar remained determined to engage Pompey at Dyrrachium. Pompey, for his part, chose to adopt a defensive strategy. He fortified his position around the city, using the natural landscape to his advantage. The hills and ridges surrounding Dyrrachium provided Pompey with an excellent vantage point, allowing him to monitor Caesar's movements and control the key routes into and out of the area. Caesar, always looking for an opportunity to outmaneuver his opponent, decided to lay siege to Pompey's forces. He ordered his legions to construct a series of fortifications around Pompey's camp, intending to cut off his access to supplies and reinforcements. The goal was to starve Pompey's army into submission, forcing them to either surrender or engage Caesar on unfavourable terms. This tactic, though risky, had worked for Caesar in the past, and he believed it could work again at Dyrrachium. For weeks, the two armies remained locked in a tense standoff. Caesar's men dug trenches and built fortifications, gradually tightening the noose around Pompey's forces. Inside the camp, Pompey's troops were growing restless. Although well provisioned, they were acutely aware of Caesar's reputation for persistence and feared that the siege could drag on indefinitely. Meanwhile, Caesar's army, stretched thin and lacking in adequate supplies, began to suffer from hunger and fatigue. The hot summer weather only exacerbated the situation, and morale among the soldiers began to wane. Pompey, sensing that Caesar's forces were vulnerable, decided to launch a counterattack. He ordered a large-scale assault on Caesar's fortifications, focusing on a weak point in the lines that his scouts had identified. This was the moment Pompey had been waiting for. In a well-coordinated attack, Pompey's legions surged forward, breaking through Caesar's defensive works and overwhelming the Roman soldiers guarding the position. The suddenness and ferocity of the attack caught Caesar's forces off guard, and chaos ensued. As Pompey's forces poured through the breach, Caesar's army began to buckle under the pressure. In the heat of battle, it appeared that Caesar's carefully laid plans were falling apart. His legions, who had grown accustomed to victory under his leadership, were now facing the very real possibility of defeat. Caesar himself, recognizing the danger, rushed to the front lines to rally his troops. He moved among his soldiers, urging them to hold the line and promising that victory was still within their grasp. Despite his best efforts, however, the situation continued to deteriorate. At the height of the battle, Caesar's army was forced to retreat from several key positions. Pompey, sensing victory, pressed the attack, hoping to deliver a crushing blow that would end the war in his favour. Caesar's legions, now fighting for their lives, were pushed back toward the sea. For a brief moment, it seemed that Caesar's entire campaign might collapse. But Caesar, ever the master of strategy, saw an opportunity amid the chaos. Rather than allowing his forces to be routed, he ordered a strategic withdrawal to more defensible positions further inland. As Pompey's forces advanced, they found themselves overextended, their supply lines stretched, and their formation disrupted. Caesar, seeing this vulnerability, launched a series of counterattacks on the flanks of Pompey's army. These swift, decisive strikes forced Pompey to halt his advance and regroup. Although Pompey had succeeded in breaking through Caesar's fortifications, he had failed to deliver the knockout blow that he had hoped for. In the aftermath of the battle, both sides found themselves in a stalemate. Pompey had won a tactical victory by breaking Caesar's siege, but he had not been able to destroy Caesar's army. Caesar, on the other hand, had suffered a setback, but had managed to preserve the core of his forces. The Battle of Dyrrachium, while a serious challenge for Caesar, did not end in the decisive victory that Pompey had anticipated. 10. Realizing that his current position was untenable, Caesar decided to withdraw from Dyrrachium and regroup. He led his army inland, moving away from the coast and deeper into Greece. Although disappointed by the outcome of the battle, Caesar remained resolute. He knew that the war was far from over, and that the ultimate confrontation with Pompey was still to come. For Pompey, the victory at Dyrrachium was bittersweet. While he had managed to drive Caesar from the field, he had not dealt the final blow that would have ended the civil war. His forces, though victorious, were still wary of Caesar's ability to recover and regroup. As Pompey prepared for the next phase of the campaign, he knew that Caesar would not give up easily. The Battle of Dyrrachium was a crucial moment in Caesar's civil war, a reminder that even the greatest commanders can face setbacks. It demonstrated the importance of logistics, terrain and fortifications in ancient warfare, and highlighted the fine balance between victory and defeat. While Pompey had achieved a temporary success, Caesar's resilience and strategic acumen would soon be tested again in one of the most famous battles of the ancient world, the Battle of Pharsalus.